Let me just double check. What do you think? Should I keep my glasses? No, are they wonky? Tom, are my glasses wonky?
Wonky? I think you're good. Yeah, you sound.
I feel like I got like Bell's palsy or something. Just like my glasses like... Hey guys, it's Dan from the Viddyoze HQ. Doing things a little bit differently today. Normally I get in a bit early and I don't have to put up with everyone listening to me. I got Tom over there. Tom, say hello.
Hi,
Yeah, so Tom's there. I got a new toy, which is a remote follow focus. It's by Tilter. It's called the Nucleus Nano. So essentially it's follow focus that I can control remotely. I've got a monitor set up over there just so I can check focus. Because although the red has a nice big 7 inches. When I'm sitting this far away, it's actually quite hard to focus. So I've got a monitor set up over here, and now I can pull focus, which is great because I know a lot of my videos have been out of focus. But yeah, new toy. So today we're going to be talking about DSLRs or SLRs, which means digital single lens reflex. It's just a camera, typically a stills camera, which have evolved into, you know, really good high quality video cameras. A lot of people use them. In fact, most people use them, unless you're shooting like commercials and stuff. So I just want to run over what it is, what it does, how to use it. So without further ado, DSLRs. Entry-level DSLR, best choice for beginners, versatile, easy to use, and most widely used for shooting video nowadays. And while standards and trends constantly change, if you keep these 7 tips in mind, you'll be golden. So typically it used to be Nikon or Canon. Pick your favorite. The only real difference is the lenses focus different ways. Is that? Yeah. So yeah, it used to be Canon or Nikon, but now, last 4 or 5 years, Sony have like upped the game with mirrorless cameras. I would argue that Sony's the better shout in terms of video quality. Sony, good shout. So yeah, don't rule them out. Nikon and Canon, still really good. Canon have just released some new cameras. Sony have just released some new cameras. Nikon did last year. Some of them shoot 8K. It's fake K is what it is. Don't limit yourself to just Canon and Nikon like in the olden days. 7 tips when shopping for a camera. Number 1, make sure it's the highest resolution available. I'm in 2 minds. Like, obviously you need the high resolution. Make sure that you're gonna be outputting. No, just scratch all that shit. Tom. It sounds weird saying Tom because you sat right there. Normally there's no one here and I give him instructions. He can reply to me now. Tom.
Sorry, I had headphones on.
See? So yeah, resolution. Ideally, you want to pick a camera that has the maximum resolution for your budget. Standards nowadays, 4K. Everyone shoots on 4K, but not everyone watches in 4K. Typically, resolution, you want to pick the highest one. It's future-proof. You can downsample. Lots of advantages. There's lots of benefits to shooting in 4K. So what is 1080p, 4K, UHD, 720p? It's essentially the number of pixels in the width and the height of the sensor. So standard definition would be 720 by 576. That was popular in the 90s and 2000s, but now everything is 1080 above. So yeah, we progressed a lot since then. Well, in cameras we progressed. The world as a whole has gone backwards, it's gone to shit. So 4K being the standard, 8K, I'm shooting in 8K now. It's glorious. You're not going to see it in 8K. You're probably not going to see it in 4K. You're probably not going to see it at all because no one's watching. But also recently, Blackmagic have brought out a 12K camera. Now I say 12K loosely, not 16-bit like this glorious red here. It's 12-bit, which essentially means it's less information, not as easy to grade as a red. Also, Thomas, shut the up. Also, phones coming out recently, like the Samsung Galaxy Ultra, claiming to shoot 8K. Again, fake K. This sensor is so diddy and tiny that the amount of light that's through the lens into the sensor and the amount of information it can record in, it's not really 8K. It's not a practical 8K. Also, who's going to shoot anything in 8K to watch it back? It's a gimmick on a phone nowadays. It's not true 8K. Also, it's glass. It's not going to produce the best images. So this is a Samyang DSLR or VDSLR. It's a nice lens, full frame, lots of glass, 1.5. It's a great lens, but that sensor will be utilized better with better glass, but that's expensive. And we're on a tight budget because it costs a lot of money. Viddyoze tip. It pretty much goes on to say what I've just covered anyway. So 4K is pretty much the standard these days. I just said that. And ideally you want to be shooting that. I've just said that. But does it mean 1080p is dead? Pretty sure I said that. You can often shoot at higher frames per second, but a lower resolution. Also, remember that over 80% of video nowadays is consumed on mobiles, and the vast majority of phones don't have higher than 1080p or UHD. So even though you're shooting as in 4K, you might not need to output in 4K. More than likely it's going to be played back in 1080p. When shooting in 4K, high resolution, you've got more freedom in post to crop in, to zoom in, to punch in, to utilize that resolution in a different way. So Tom will do an example now. Crop into my hand. Crop into this hand. Crop in here. Crop in there. Also crop in there. Tom, if you just crop in at the side of... So yeah, more freedom in post. So not just cropping in and punching in, you've also got the ability to pan, pan in, pan out. Tom, come with me now. Pan in and pan out. Adds a bit of dynamics to your video. If you just got a boring image like most of the shit that I've shot, you can punch in and zoom in and crop in and go wild. You got the resolution there to play with. Remember that 4K doesn't mean it's 4 times 1080p. Common misconception. It's double 1080p. I pull a lot of stills from my video because I shoot in 8K. It's about 40 megapixel sensor, which is a lot. It's like more than most DSLRs. I can pull out frames from anything. We'll do some Vogue snaps now. They're all high resolution stills, which I can then edit and export as a TIFF or edit in Photoshop. And that's the benefit of shooting a high resolution camera. You can repurpose your footage for Instagram posts or Facebook posts. Not all 4K sensors are the same megapixel resolution. You can have a micro four thirds sensor, which claims to be 4K, or a full frame sensor, which claims to be 4K. Different megapixels, different size sensors, lots of numbers. You know, you don't really know what is what. If you are on a tight budget and you see a really nice camera that only shoots in UHD or 1080p, there's a thing called upsampling or upscaling. Essentially just means you're adding extra information, or you're not, the software is adding extra information in to the video to upscale it from 1080p to 4K. It's not true 4K, but you're very unlikely to be able to tell the difference on a computer screen or TV. I'll go over it in a separate video on how to upsample your footage from 1080p to 4K. You're not going to be able to upsample to 8K. That's not a Viddyoze tip, that's a Dan tip. Number 2. Me that as well. A camera should shoot at least 25 frames a second. The reason it's 25 frames a second, which essentially means every second 25 still images are taken with the camera, and that strings together to make a video or a motion picture. 25 frames a second is closest thing to how we perceive moving images and how lights perceive light and objects around us. So it's a more natural looking video. Most cameras nowadays have the option to shoot higher frame rate, 60 frames a second. If you're lucky, you can get 120. If you're very lucky, you get 300 frames a second. Now, my Red shoots 300 frames a second, but you have to lower the resolution to 2K to get there. So you're sacrificing quality for frame rates or, you know, slow-mo. Most cameras you buy now will have the option to shoot at a higher frame rate, 30, 60, and 120 if you're lucky, but very unlikely to shoot 120 in a 4K resolution or even a 1080p resolution. Frame rate obviously has its benefits. Like I said, if you're shooting a higher frame rate, you're essentially recording more frames and you can slow it down in post. It's how you record slow-mo. It's great for telling stories or showing products. Now, although most cameras are limited, there are high-end cameras out there like the Phantom Flex that shoot upwards of 1,000 frames. You know, I'm pretty sure it goes up to 5,000 frames or maybe more. Don't hold me to that information. Good little bit of information for Tom here. There's even a camera called the Teacup. The Teacup, yeah. I don't know if you can understand what Tom said. He's very northern. So it's a camera that shoots, and you're ready for it, 10 trillion frames per second. That's right. A camera shoots 10 trillion frames per second. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be in your budget, or whether you're going to utilize that many frames a second, but it's a scientific camera that they use to shoot science. I'm assuming space and light and protons and atoms, atoms moving together and bouncing about. Viddyoze tip. If you're shooting more frame rates, such as 120 frames a second, audio is not going to be recorded the same, or if certain cameras won't record audio at all. If you can imagine you're playing it back slow motion, but the audio is playing back normal speed, it's not going to be synced properly. It's going to look weird. When shooting high frame rates, just remember audio isn't captured the same way, if at all. Oh, another Viddyoze tip. Another Viddyoze tip straight after the other Viddyoze tip. Viddyoze tip. Broadcast standard frames per second is typically captured at 30 frames per second. If you're shooting like sports and stuff, 30 frames per second on broadcast TV, it captures a lot more motion. That's just how they do it. When recording high frame rates, you need to make sure that your shutter speed is double the frame rate you're shooting. This is called the 180-degree shutter rule. It essentially means if you're shooting 60 frames per second, you need to have your shutter at 120. If you're shooting 300 frames, 600 on the shutter speed, and so on. Otherwise, stuff does not look right. It starts to judder around and looks fake. Do you hear my shoulder clicking? Me. Yeah. Yeah, so 180-degree rule of shutter thing, double your frame rate. I'll go over it in another video. Number 3, a camera should have some level of manual control. Now, pretty much everything I've just spoken about is reliant on manual controls, but most people will get a camera, stick it in auto, and that's it, won't ever touch anything. And it really limits your creative input into a video or how you control images and situations. Although there's little out there anymore, don't buy a fully automatic camera. You kind of need to have control over your aperture, your ISO, your frame rates, your shutter speed, your audio. If you want to make your footage look as cinematic and as good a quality as possible, you want to have more manual control. Number 4, a camera should offer external storage. Most cameras nowadays shoot on like an SD card or a compact flash card. The Red shoots on a Red Mini Mag, which are pretty dear. I'm not gonna lie, depending on how much storage you need, they're a couple of grand upwards. You need to make sure your camera's got external storage so you can upgrade and record more footage. Simples. Number 5, buy a prime lens. Most cameras that you buy will come with a stock lens, typically a zoom lens. If you're first starting out, probably not that much wrong with it. Further down the line, you're going to want to buy a prime lens. So these lenses are great if you're first starting out. They offer a lot of versatility, but you tend to sacrifice quality for this level of versatility. Now, I'd always recommend investing in some good glass, because although technology changes and camera systems go out of date quite quickly, if you have a good lens, a good piece of glass, that's going to last you a lot longer than typically a camera you get. Invest your money in a good quality lens, because that'll last a lot longer. Glass, image. If you're only going to buy a prime lens and you see one that you really like, or you've had good reviews about it, but you've got a Canon camera, you want to buy a Nikon lens, there's adapters. You can interchange different lenses and brands to a certain degree. So just for an example, I recently got a vintage 58mm lens purely for the look of it. It's very creamy, washed out look, but that's not typically made obviously for this new Red camera. So I bought a little adapter so I can use that lens on this camera and get the desired look I want. Like I said before, lenses have a massive impact on how the image looks. So a lot of cameras nowadays, they're super sharp, super top quality, but you lose that kind of vintage look. Choosing a lens that has different characteristics adds a lot to your footage. Number 6, if you're only going to buy one lens, make it a 35mm or a 50mm. I'm shooting on a 50mm at the moment, and I tend to shoot on a 35mm as well. They just cover a lot more scenarios better, gives you a more natural looking image. If you're shooting on a telephoto lens or a wide angle lens, it distorts things in certain ways. We'll go over this in other videos, but if you're shooting on a wide angle lens, everything's going to be stretched out and distorted. It's not going to look natural. If you're shooting on a telephoto lens, stuff's going to look closer when you're further away. 35-50, great choice of focal length lenses. You can always add to your collection, but if you're only going to buy one of those is your best bet. Final tip, number 7, don't spend more money than you can afford. What are you moaning about now? Don't eat yellow snow. So Jazz's Viddyoze tip is don't eat yellow snow. Yeah, it's a good tip. It is a good... Basically, don't eat other people's piss, is what she's saying. Tom, put up a video. Don't, no Tom, don't. We will ignore Jazz's tip and we'll go to the actual tip. Now, this isn't a finance lesson, it's just common sense. Don't splash all your cash on a camera you don't necessarily need. So whilst a camera is an obvious expense, it's not the most important purchase to consider. And besides, you don't need to spend a lot of money to shoot good quality videos if you follow this book. I love this follow focus. Entry to mid-level cameras perform really well nowadays, so don't have to blow your money on the most expensive camera. And also, if you're not ready to buy a DSLR just yet, use your smartphone. Yeah, I'm just shooting a video. Okay, bye. Okay, well, that's it for this video. I think it's number 11. Tom, which one is this? No?
11.
So that's it for number 11. I'm hoping it's been somewhat useful. There's a lot of me just talking in this one. Next video, stop looking at me. This is why I don't shoot with people in the office. A, I sound like a and B, people stare at me. Apparently I am a We can't say Is there another word?
Stop saying I have to bleep it.
Next video we're going to be talking about accessories to go with your newfound camera purchase, if you've listened to any of my advice. Peace.